We have breaking news. I'm toasted.
Hi, and welcome back to Kids Eat Toast Sometimes. Happy Mental Health Day.
And if you're aware that it's Mental Health Day, you're probably not happy.
It is the one day for me.
That's usually your birthday.
Oh, that's true.
And Women's Day.
Women's Day.
If you're a woman.
I once had a waiter tell me, he said, Happy Women's Day. And I said, oh, thank you. And he goes, let me tell you, it is my favorite day of the year. Favorite day. I love women, hey? Love women.
That's good. What's his name? Anthony.
I was like, does that work for you?
No, his name's not Anthony.
Anthony Kiedis.
I thought we were coming up with a pseudonym.
No, I can't remember his name.
Anyways.
I've got a head cold, so I can't do much thinking on the spot. And I'll try to keep the sniveling to a minimum.
Sniveling, please.
I think it's in human DNA. If you hear someone snivel or present any symptoms of being ill, you're disgusted by them within good right, keep you away from them, because the common cold back in the day was enough to kill you. Now not even
That's
AIDS
true.
can do that.
Did you guys know that's where Ring Ringer Rosie's pocket full of posies came from? The Black Plague.
Wow. I didn't know that. What, Rupert, did you know that?
Did you not know that?
Everyone, just say hello to Rupert. He's off camera again.
Been demoted, off cam.
It's tough.
It's tough, yeah.
But
the people said they weren't enjoying what I was putting out
Face for radio.
Face for radio,
No, but we're struggling, like we said, in the studio space. We're trying to make it work week in, week out. So next week you'll be back visually on the podcast.
We just need to figure out...
Perhaps.
Perhaps. We just have to figure out how to make it work. And if you're watching, you'll see that we are rocking some kids merch. Look at that toast. That's so cute. I made that.
Chloe literally designed that.
And look at that. So
we've been talking about merch for like 2.5 years.
Just ages. So finally, we're experimenting with some. We also have like sweaters, but we just feel like they're not quite right yet. So
let us know. If you want this, we can give it to you.
No, that's a large on Samuel, and I mean...
His muscles are
I've got a tight
His muscles are bursting through that, so I wouldn't really order that.
So it's the usual stuff. And to make up money for our losses that we've incurred in the podcast, we're going to sell the shirts for 2,000 Rand a pop.
But you're going to say an OnlyFans.
No, I tried that. That's the only thing more depressing than having an OnlyFans is having an OnlyFans that no one subscribed to.
That's so true.
Just put it on.
I genuinely often think about that.
Really?
Yeah, like...
As much as you think of the Roman Empire?
No. Do you know what my Roman Empire is?
What is it?
It is the fear of like someone rolling back time. I think about it probably every day. And then like me having to redo stuff like my degree. What if it was like before COVID? How do I tell everyone about COVID like without seeming crazy?
Yeah.
How would I re-meet you?
Not
like,
possible.
You know what I mean? Like I would just be like, I know everything about you. Like you've got a scar on your bum, you know?
It's, okay. Not true. That was a hypothetical. It's true. They're, my bum has been ravaged by a surgeon.
Empire?
I think I've got bad ADHD, so I don't really think of
Is there
stuff.
nothing that you think about every day? Like nothing?
I think I'm hungry.
Oh my God.
I am, when people talk about those starving children in Africa, it's me, it's your boy Chunks. He's hungry. He's in Cape Town and he's thinking about foodies.
Jeepers. No.
Wow. Okay.
Too far,
Speaking
too
of
far.
starving children, no. Hey, welcome to Kids Eat. Have we started rolling the cameras or are we just warming up?
Yes, we started rolling the cameras.
I think we should warm up. You warm up, it's before sports, sex, business, whatever. We just podcast straight from the jump.
Who warms up before sex?
It's called foreplay, and I'd appreciate if there was more of it in my life. So, yeah, that's right, Rupert. Look at your shoes, you little...
I'm not wearing it. Barefoot, Jack.
Rupert's actually completely naked. He's like, was I on a camera? No, did I get naked?
I'll get naked. It is flipping hot today. But we also wanted to use this as a reminder to please like, subscribe, do all those YouTube-y things in the podcast, and please go and leave a review. If you leave a 5-star review, we will read it out on the podcast.
We won't even read it out. We'll send you'll be the first person to get KETS merch. So if you're listening to this, watching this, go leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Ooh, I like that.
Someone left a 5-star review on YouTube, which I thought was cuck funny. They just commented 5 stars.
Did they? I missed that.
You know, so thank you, but don't do that because that doesn't.
I mean, do that, but then also go to
do that, and then we'll put it together, and then we will send that person some merch. The
Love
best
that.
comment, the funniest comment, the most positive comment. We don't want funny negative comments. That's our job.
That can be in the YouTube comment section.
Is my voice really annoying?
No, I think
Yes.
I think when you are sick, I think when you're sick, your voice is more annoying to you in your own
I'm
head.
hating the sound of my voice.
Also, guys, just for your sake, I really hope Sam doesn't sneeze on this podcast. That literally, like, the room
I'm a man
rattles. It is
I learned from my dad.
next level. But before we get going, I also wanted to say we will have the Left Back Sports podcast linked in the description down below, where you can find it on Spotify and Apple, because it's easy to find on YouTube. But
Yeah,
to make
and
it
if you
easy
don't
to
know what
find.
that is, that's the new KETS sports podcast. And Chloe was going to start also another spin-off, which people have been requesting, a more sort of girly thing. Your words, not mine. Yeah, go Barbie. But, you know, it's quite hard.
It's quite hard to find a co-host.
Yeah.
So if you can think of someone who would be a good co-host, comment them down below.
Rupert
Why
pointed
are
at
Rupert
himself.
laughing?
No, because he wants to co-host. What would you talk about, you know?
On our girly podcast.
Bill.
Do you see? And
Yeah,
that is why we have put him...
That's a thumbs down.
He says, I want to do the interview podcast. And I said, okay. He says, I want to host it though. And I said, okay, so what's your style? He goes, oh, you know, I can do funny and lighthearted.
It's all facts. It's all facts.
I'm an approachable, good-looking guy.
But once the camera starts, what's your take on this? Bill?
It's all about reactions, really. It's about big laughs.
But this is the third podcast in a row since we've been back and we ain't going nowhere.
I was going to say, well done to us for sticking consistently. You've been sick. We've been redoing the set. It's really been a mess.
Yes.
But we're showing up.
And I'm convinced that I'm sick because hay fever is just a made up thing. And one of my friends has it right now, and he's posting a lot of hilarious stuff about like how is he going to chat to how is he going to explain to his children that some pollen takes out the 6-foot Adonis once a year. So
But that's also the thing, is that it's not necessarily from hay, and you don't get a fever. So we need to think of a new name for that.
yeah, what's going on with that?
Yes. And then how, like a little bit of a catch up, how was your weekend?
Well, I
Tell us
do
about it,
love
huh?
an organic conversation. I don't even, what did I do on the weekend? You know, you see that people always ask like, oh, how was your weekend? And then they don't really say anything, do they?
That was like at school. I would plan out what I was going to be saying.
That's
Because you go around in a
crazy.
circle, and on a Monday, you'd all sit in a circle and you go, how was your weekend? And you'd have probably like a minute to say
What is
your
this in
part.
high school?
No, man, in like grade 2, grade 1.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah.
like,
No,
everybody's-
because that was show and tell.
Yeah, but like then you'd like compete. Like I would think I've got to have the best show and tell this week, and I've got to upstage Sharon. Like this girl last weekend, she went to Ratanga Junction. What did I do? I had a bri. That's
Yeah,
lame.
show and tell in junior school was the original Instagram. Now we just go and do things to put on the gram, but before you did it too, show and tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what a complex world we live in.
We also did that on the podcast, but stopped that.
We
It started
did.
to get crazy.
Yeah, people's show and tells were. The interview podcast is also coming back. I know Rupert's desperate to host that. Let us know if you're as desperate. And also, we're going to stop premiering the video because the YouTube video is a premiere, and then Chloe writes, "Oh, thanks for watching," and then someone wrote,
Ew.
"There's only 2 of us here." I was like, I don't even know if that's a hateful or Rupert. What would you take on that? What's your take on Israel? Okay, more on that later. But we've been busy. We're cooking it up, and again, like we said in the Left Back Sports podcast, let us know we're trying to. Oh, here we come. Here we go.
There's a sneeze, guys.
Sorry about that.
You've got to get off the mic when you do this ground shaker, this earthquake. Sometimes if you look into the light.
Okay, don't tease me like that.
That's not great. But
And then
anyway.
what happened there?
My head, if you can see, I was in a fight this weekend with Rupert. SmackDown versus Raw, WrestleMania. on his bed. He said I
Sounds
cheated.
awfully sexual.
Yeah.
Sounds, you said raw, then on his bed. This sounds hella sexual.
It's just with my brother.
It is a little roll around. Buttocks were grabbed. Chris Pappas was there. But no. We got into it was the classic wrestling with your brother. It all starts off fun and homoerotic, and then it descends into a full-on fight for your life, because Rupert's got a bit of a tempo on him. Al tempo is what they used to call him in Berkeley House. But
This is when you come back with, what are you talking about?
yeah, he got a look in his eyes where I thought, if I do not restrain his wrists here, this also sounds very sexual. He's gonna punch me in the face, and yeah, I got cut. His mouth bleeding. Yeah, and then we said some really horrible stuff. The good thing about boys, men, is like 10 minutes later we were laughing and having a little cuddle. Hey.
I would say that's like sisters as well. You can say the most heinous things to each other.
Yeah. Sibling rivalry is where it's at.
Yes.
When did you... There's also a weird time where like you go from hating each other to best friends. And if you're listening or watching and you've gone the other way from besties to hating each other, that's usually over money. So we hope you sort that out.
Yeah, sibling rivalry is wild. But let's get back to it.
What sibling rivalry?
No, let's
Rupert,
get back to the podcast.
When did you first see me as a friend opposed to your leader? Because you've got a 7-year age gap.
This is true. Look, I think I always copped abuse from you, whether it be back garden cricket, anything like that, but I never saw you as a leader.
What the fuck is back garden cricket?
Back garden cricket. Garden cricket.
Not the front garden, the back garden.
But it's the way I was like, how many gardens do we have in this house? That's true. Rupert, we used to bully him, and I think it's Diary of the CEO, needs to get on this, because I think the last child is either a fuck up or a star from the trauma. And Rupert's a bit of both.
I'm not sure where I actually stand. I thought there, which one am I?
No. Stop, please,
sitting on the fence.
stop.
But families are also such bizarre things. I'm super lucky that I've got a family I love. They love me. We like spending time together. But you can also just have a shit family.
That's true. That's really true. You know what I'm scared of is having kids one day. And I think that obviously there's a part of it that is like nurturing your kids to have good manners and be good people. But like you
nature
could
versus nurture.
A terror could be born to you. Like they just come out the womb swinging. It genuinely could happen, and that is a big fear of mine.
That is also one of my biggest fears, that my child is just a loser.
It's just like an all-around like terrible person.
That's why I want to have a child before I get married, and then see what the kid is like.
Really?
It's a proof of concept, because
what?
The proof is in the pudding, as
With
they
me?
say. Well, whoever. Yeah. No, because you'd see, like, if genetically you don't match up.
But what if you're the problem?
Well, as a man, that's not part of the equation. You're never the problem. No, that's true. So it's terrifying.
I think between the two of us, the child will definitely have some mental health struggles. But
yes, but we need to talk more about sex, because I feel like when people talk about sex in general, it's like very gross and like graphic and like done in a very distasteful way. And that's why I've loved the show Sex Education, which a lot of people, because it's done it's like, it's Wes Anderson talking about sex, kinda. I don't know. He looks like a weird guy.
I think he is a weird guy.
Yeah, so I like the way Sex Education framed sex, made sex less like taboo. Because in South Africa, it's so weird to talk about sex.
We are so conservative in South Africa. Like, even in school, I think the first time we had a proper sex talk, I was in grade 7. And there were so many things that our class talked about where I was like, what? And it was a very awkward ride home with my mom that day, because I asked a lot of questions and got a lot of answers that I didn't actually want.
That's pretty... I don't know. I also just think like even just going to the petrol station to buy condoms is...
so embarrassing.
You'd rather have the kid. You'd rather have the kid.
At the petrol station, do they sell condoms there?
Yeah, that's my go-to.
Really? Me, I've never bought
Fresh
condoms
stock.
there. I'm Clicks.
You Clicks.
Yeah. The other
Clicks
day...
is for pregnancy tests. The BP is for condoms.
Okay.
It's in the Bible.
Also, how expensive are condoms?
Very
Like, I
expensive.
remember when a pack of Durex Extra Safe.
Extra small.
One order for me, please.
Can they have a box?
What's your go-to condom, Samuel?
My go-to
Wait,
condom. When I use a condom, which I don't.
I remember when a pack of... Guys, let me talk. I remember when a pack of Durex Extra Safe was like 80 Rand and you'd get 10 of them. So that's like 8 Rand every time that you have sex, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like 80 Rand for 3. Is it even worth it then? And
Well,
and it better be good.
You've got to work that out, you know. Are you handing out, what's it, 80 divided by 3?
$80 for one.
Yeah, it's like 27
I
Rand.
think it's something like that.
For less than 27 seconds.
You got that Mayweather paycheck.
That was an awfully specific number, 27. Okay, so on Take-A-Lot, you can get 4 times 12 bulk condoms, thicker latex, extra safe for $1,000.
Sure. How many are in there?
4 times 12, so that's
48.
48 for $1,000.
48 for $1,000.
How many times is like 48? Is that like 2 months worth of sex?
Yes.
If you're in a relationship.
What are you having sex 24 times a month?
What?
Not to shame anyone. I'm just saying that's a lot of work. So good for you if you're putting in those numbers.
Okay, maybe like 3 months.
But after you've seen the person for
So it's like 300 Rand a
an
month.
extended period of time, you know, there's only so much. Well, Rupert, what did you ask me? What is my favorite?
What's your go-to condom?
The go-to condom. It's Durex. It's got to be. But also, I get anxiety about buying any of the fancy ones because if you get Featherlight, then they know.
Samuel, cut this out. When did you last buy a condom?
The other day. What are you talking about? You get your Featherlights, then the ribbed ones, they know you're freaky. Then if you get the extra safe, they think you're neurotic. You know, it's a whole mess. This condom debacle, this condom business. But we are a pillar of news, and the news is what we've got to get
It's
to.
taken a long time to get back into this news.
And the big international news, one of the big points is Drake's new album, Certified Lover Boy.
Who let the dogs out? Woof, woof. What's it called?
Yikes.
Yikes.
Yeah, well, I got some laughs. So
That's a contraceptive in itself right there.
all right. It's called,
You see?
it's called For All the Dogs,
Yep.
his new album. But it's been out for a while. Hey?
That should be
just come out.
Jurex's new line for all the dogs. Oh,
Not so bad.
no, that's another contraceptive right there.
Oh
But-
my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, but the new thing that the youth are talking about, they say Drake is zesty, and when like zesty is always like, you know, being cool. Oh, that guy's zesty, but
Yeah.
it's apparently replacing the term sus. You know, so. But I think that's classic Gen Z because zesty sounds cool, whereas sus still sounds to me like it's bad to be gay.
Yeah,
Whereas if you're
it
zesty,
feels a bit homophobic, yeah.
exactly.
Zesty feels empowered, like.
Yeah. So like when I think of zesty guys, I think of Sean Craig. But that's neither here nor
Shout
there.
out, Sean.
Shout out
I know he's not watching this, but shout out anyway.
You got to send him this time.
to the zesty king. So is Drake be zesty as hell?
Yeah, I feel like it's equivalent to like flamboyant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Like a little bit of zest.
But I don't think this album's anything like his previous ones.
What's your favorite Drake album?
It's gonna sound a bit basic, but Certified Lover Boy.
Really?
Yeah, that was a good
I think
one.
Certified Lover Boy goes hard.
Really? Your favorite Drake album, Chloe?
Probably Scorpion.
I ain't heard anyone say their favorite Drake album is Scorpion. Really?
I just said that.
What's your favorite track on Scorpion?
Couldn't tell you.
They're
Probably all of
bangers.
them. Yeah.
No,
Probably all of them.
mine is definitely Take Care. Take Care.
Ooh, yeah.
That's R&B
Do you-
feels.
Do you remember what happened in? Oh, thank you. Do you remember what happened in 2018? Were you on Spotify in 2018?
No, I was only on YouTube in 2020. I thought it was a thing for nerds and virgins.
Well, on
Where the hell did that come from?
on Spotify, all of a sudden, when Drake's album Scorpion had come out, all of the playlists all of a sudden had his face all over them. But it would be like on the most random playlist. It would be like indie folk and like I don't know, playlists that wouldn't have his name and maybe like lullabies. Not really. But
What's the
apparently,
point of that?
it was some sort of like marketing scheme where I think there was a deal between his team and Spotify.
The Zesty King.
But someone did the research and less than 50% of the playlist actually even contained his music. I wouldn't want to see Drake's face everywhere.
Can I get a
sheesh?
Well, what do you think Drake speaks about the most in For All the Dogs, like in a lyrical breakdown? Because I've just seen this Twitter post here.
I'd say bad bitches.
I'd say like failed relationships.
Bad bitches.
You're not wrong. 64.5% is about women.
Yep, bad
Yeah.
bitches.
15.7% about his so-called ops.
Yep.
So his ops. I don't think he's got many ops.
No, but this is
And
the
then-
thing. No one has ops like being haters, opposition, blah, blah. No one has ops in their life. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're literally in a gang, I don't think you have
Yeah.
ops.
And just be like, shout out to all my haters.
The
It's
haters,
like,
the hater is within, and if you don't get that right, you just got to check yourself. Go to Miami.
And Drake's definitely not in a gang. He's way too...
No,
he's too zesty for that.
And 12.1% he actually speaks about dogs.
literal dogs. Those are the homies. But speaking of dogs,
That's so
Pete
funny.
Davidson has done it again. This guy makes me sick visually and in terms of jealousy. Green with envy because he is now confirmed to be dating ex-Outer Bank star and, I'd say, no, I was going to say all-time great in terms of the... Anyway, but we'll just ignore that. Madeleine Klein.
Yes. How does he do it? Is what everyone's asking.
I've heard from several sources close to him, not close to me. I'm talking about media outlets that he's got a massive dick.
Really?
Yeah.
But how do people, do you think that that's like something that like everybody knows? So then when he approaches someone, like they've got that in their head? Or does he have to get past the first date and then they're like, oh,
Well,
okay.
he in one of his stand-up specials, he said Ariana Grande was the most mastermind ex he's ever had, because usually you break up with someone, you talk shit. Oh, she was crazy, bro. Never loved her. Ha ha ha. And all the boys like, yeah, fuck her. Very toxic, very hyper masculine. Not here for it. You were probably the problem, young short king. And he was just saying when they broke up, Ariana Grande was like, oh, Pete's great. And he's got like the biggest dick I've ever seen. And he was like, that was so crazy clever from her, because now
Everybody has this expectation.
and he's like, it's not that big. So I think
he's funny.
It's just 'cause he's funny.
And I think that a lot of people don't really like admit that, but funny goes a long way. Like you could be good looking and have like the personality of like a plank of wood.
Yeah.
And no one's really going to stay with
my
you for
favorite
that
is
long.
he's about as exciting as a foreskin. One of my more fruitier references. Any takers? No, none. We'll move on. But I think there's a psychological thing where pretty girls also get a lot of identity from being pretty, so they're quite happy to date someone less attractive than them. What do you think about? What do you say to that?
On my personal experience.
It's true. You are more attractive than me.
No, I'm not. I'd say we're pretty equal.
I want to submit us to.
I do too.
Yeah.
I was also thinking
Their
that.
whole show
But I
is
think
they
it would
basically.
destroy me. I think they'd say that you get
I
all the
definitely
points.
think they would ride with you, but
It's
couples
so
send in
good.
their photos, and the show consists of these guys then rating who's punching and who's settling, that sort of stuff. Super toxic.
I would
super
say
toxic.
that we're equal.
No, I would say you're more
With
attractive
this-
than me.
With this haircut, with all that's going on.
No, I'm funny, but you're definitely more attractive than me. But anyway, so his dating history includes Carly Aquilino, whoever the fuck that is, Kazzy David, who the fuck is that guy? Ariana Grande, we know who she is. Kate Beckinsale's also fresh. Margaret Quaalude, Kaya Gerbenstein, Phoebe Dynevor, and the big one, Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian is a negative influence on the world.
I've got to agree. He's kind of like the new Leonardo DiCaprio. Even though Leonardo DiCaprio is good looking.
Not now though. He's bumpy.
Yeah, not
But
now.
anyway.
But I mean, in terms of just having like Orlando Bloom as well. Like who hasn't he dated? Everyone.
Yeah, that's true. But that is enough of this. What are we doing? Poisoning the youth's minds with this chitter chatter. That's our international news. Pete Davidson. What else do we talk about? Durex and
All the dogs.
Sex Education
and Drake. Let us move on to some South African news.
Yeah, South African news. We never say it's good news because it almost
It is
never
never
is.
good news, but let's be honest, good news is not as juicy. It's not as zesty. So first up, we've got a South African lawyer that has allegedly stolen 350 million rand from, get this, disabled children.
Jesus.
How? I don't think it can get worse.
Well, that should say rich disabled children because that's a lot of money to steal.
It wasn't rich disabled children even.
Okay.
That's the sad part.
That is crazy.
That is so crazy.
So take us through it. 350 million.
350 million rand. It's crazy. So he is a lawyer whose firm, and he represents disabled children in cases of medical negligence.
So were they disabled before or were they disabled after? Was
They
that
were disabled
the negligence?
because of medical negligence.
Jesus.
Which is, like, let's say you were deprived. So it was mainly children with cerebral palsy,
Yeah.
which can happen if you're deprived of oxygen.
Jeez.
No, it's hectic
No,
stuff.
this is okay. So he.
So then he would claim damages from the health department. But what he would do was he would say, let's say they won 1 million rand. He'd say, okay, you've been awarded 250,000 rand, and take the other part of it for himself and just use it as his own money.
No, I thought this was going to be like Paralympic funding that was stolen and stuff when I saw the story.
This is
What a little
so
fuck. What's his
crazy.
name?
And it's not all wealthy people that he was representing either. A lot of these people were living in poverty and needed medical
Of
help
course.
for their children.
Just because you're disabled doesn't mean you're rich.
So it's terrible. And apparently this has happened over many, many years. And it's just crazy how these people don't get caught.
Yeah, no, and it's terrible. So, Eastern Cape hairdresser Millicent Malose, not to be confused with 50 Cent, has detailed how she and fellow mothers of these 11 children who were left with cerebral palsy after they were negligently deprived of oxygen during birth only received between 150 and 300,000 rand, and had no idea he had obtained multi-million rand settlements that were sometimes more than 172 times the amounts he gave them. That's crazy
radical.
Town. Absolute crazy town. And coming from the department, they said the lump sum payments have compromised our capability to provide care to the millions of people dependent on the public health system. Uba will be taken head on, banned as a lawyer, and instructed to pay back the money. What he'll probably do is be elevated into a position of government and run for president in 2020, wherever. My word.
It's just too depressing. Like, would he go to jail? I hope he go to jail.
Has to be jail time.
It has to
Jail.
be. I mean, for this, I would think like at least 50 years. Like, this man must be punished. But unfortunately, he probably won't go to jail for that long.
This is definitely something that Mike Ross would pick up without Harvey Specter knowing. And then Harvey would be all angry, but then he'd come round and actually show up at the trial and give this dog 50 years.
say,
Because that's a Specter guarantee.
What were you goddamn thinking?
God damn it.
Goddamn.
Lewis. Lewis does those ads that they advertise. It's like Royal Clash or Kingdom Clash.
Mike Ross also does it.
Oh, he's like, hi, I'm Lewis Litt, and you're going to get lit up if you don't play Clash of Kingdoms. And you're like, oof, life has not been good.
How the mighty
after
have fallen.
Suits.
Yeah. Although there's like a backstory of, I'm forgetting her name now, Jessica Pearson.
Yes.
That's like a sequel.
Oh, a spin-off show. Yes, that'll be cool.
So they are
She's
still
a powerful woman.
Yeah, they're still acting. So I've seen like a lot of TikToks recently also just about the amount of times they say goddamn
On Suits, yeah.
on Suits.
They
So
love
I wanted to ask you, take a guess. So someone has done this and they've put the scripts through AI or whatever, and they've found out how many times they say goddamn in Suits. What do you think
Per
the number is?
episode?
No, the whole
How many seasons are there?
10?
Okay.
No, I've got the answer.
10 seasons of Suits. I don't think they're 10. I think they're like 6.
Okay, wait, I'll see it.
Let's see.
There are 9 seasons of Suits.
Okay, 9 seasons
Okay.
of Suits. How many episodes a season?
Like 15.
It's
Radio silence always good for a podcast.
exactly. It doesn't say here.
Okay, say they're
okay.
15.
Let's
9
see.
times 15. What's that? Like 135? I don't know. I'm on flu medication.
Okay, is that your guess?
No, that's 135. They probably say it's like 5 times an episode. I'm going to say they said 800 times on Suits. They say, God damn it.
I'm gonna go bold.
How many times do they say it?
4,000.
Jeepers. That would be like the whole script. That'd be the whole goddamn script. So the grand total is 459 times they say goddamn in the whole series. And the highest per episode is 17 times. Jeez. And the average per episode is 15.
Crazy. Blasphemy on the suits. God damn it. Wowee. That is crazy town.
That is.
Speaking of crazy town, the Senzo Meyiwe trial is not from this planet. Obviously, if you don't know who we're talking about, murdered Bafana goalkeeper, South African sort of superstar. And I mean, this must be close to sort of nearing 10 years ago. Yeah, 9 years ago. So he was 27 when he was murdered on the 26th of October. At his girlfriend's house. In Soweto, yeah. And the trial's underway, and it just shows how cheap life is in South Africa, because this is not a everyday person. Not that an everyday person should be treated any differently. But this is one of the biggest stars in your country. 10 years on, there's nothing really conclusive, and it plays out like a soapy, because
there's new evidence coming in every day. Then they have to like hold trial because we haven't had enough time to look at the evidence. Yes,
and the sort of damning stuff at the moment is that the 5 suspects on trial, cell phone evidence has emerged of them being in communication with each other, which is a bit shady, but it's also friend group, so it's like it depends how you interpret evidence. So it's like if I called Chloe and then Rupert disappeared, it doesn't necessarily mean Chloe and I were involved in Rupert's disappearance. Watch yourself.
But you know what the hook is? They were also in contact with Kelly Khumalo.
Yeah, and they have no connection to her.
Well, seemingly people are like, why do these criminals have a connection to her? And they were in contact with her days before the murder. So it raises questions.
OJ had his glove. Now there's the hat.
So, yes. So there's a hat.
The hat didn't fit.
There's a hat with forensic evidence on that was introduced on Monday, which would have been the 9th. And the hat basically, they're saying that these 5 men were involved at the house, whatever. The DNA on the hat does not match any of these 5 men. So it brings into question who else was in the house. But cell phone evidence does link them to being in the area.
Yeah.
And then a police sergeant comes out, or corporal, whatever, comes out 5 years later saying, I actually witnessed them at a bar nearby. Didn't think to come forward about this because, I wasn't investigating.
It's not my job.
But like I was drinking and I was introduced to them for the first time that day, and I was drinking with them the whole day, and then they left for a while, came back. Some of them had changed their clothes and there was an exchange of firearms. My guy.
An exchange of firearms? I thought you were going to say exchange of
pleasantries. Why didn't you bring this up? He waited until like 2019 to be like, actually.
Maybe his business is booming now, but it's
a lot.
It makes me just think, who do you think? I don't have any opinion on who did it.
No, I've got no idea. I think that these guys...
I think Kelly Khumalo was behind it. If you watch that Netflix docuseries, Kelly Khumalo is definitely behind it.
That's what people say. I'm not saying I think that, but people are saying jealousy, she didn't like him being around other women.
I think she's way too prolific in or she's too famous to do something like this. Was she back in 2014? Yeah. Kelly Khumalo, you could even check out on Instagram now. I'm sure she's one of the most... No, but I'm saying
like 10 years ago. Was she?
Yeah, I'm sure she was doing her thing.
Yeah.
Kelly Khumalo...
I don't know. People do crazy things. Think about, of course he was not convicted, but O.J. Simpson.
Yeah,
he was super famous. Like,
that's true.
Just because you're famous doesn't mean that you wouldn't do crazy stuff. So,
the fuck does Instagram not come?
I don't know. Who knows? There's just so many twists and turns. And then there was a rumor that Netflix had offered her and her family, Kelly and her family, 22 million rand for a new docuseries around the trial, which Netflix said, no, that's not happening. We don't want to be involved with her.
Interesting.
But it's just so crazy. And I think, naturally we're drawn to a lot of this true crime stuff. But I think people kind of forget that these are real people with real trauma, real loss, real grief. And it's very sad. I think that there's a bigger discussion about whether true crime was ethical or not.
Yeah, true crime podcasts dominate the charts.
I used to watch true crime a lot. I don't watch it anymore.
Yeah. Why do girls love true crime?
I know.
It's
I think, and you also become
weird.
super desensitized to it. Like, I'd be listening to crazy stuff, and
He
it's
was
just
chopping up the bodies in the backyard.
busy vacuuming the house. It's too much.
No, something wrong with you. Anyway, speaking of things that are also wrong in the world, the DA. No, I'm only joking. We as we gear up to the 2024 elections, we will get a little bit more political. It's important to be political. I don't think you can just say, there's no one good. I mean, it does feel like that, but you still have to get involved. You got to vote. You got to make your voice heard, even if it feels small and insignificant. So we'll cover a bit there. We'll get the student leaders on. Hopefully, Sihle Lonzi will answer my phone calls, because it'll be very interesting to hear the different offerings.
Remember when we got invited to that DA meeting? That was strange. We were like, nay.
Well, I don't know. The DA, the ANC, the EFF. It's all pretty much the same to me, really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of window dressing. What we're gonna do? Just people who want to be in power. It's like, we'll do a better job. I don't know about that. But DA member Graham McIntosh resigned after making homophobic comments against Umgeni Mayor Chris Pappas.
Chris Pappas.
Yeah.
I love that name. It's such a showbiz name.
Yeah, Chris Pappas is, obviously he's just become the mayor, but also he goes viral every time he speaks because he's a white guy speaking Zulu.
And fluent Zulu.
Which is amazing, but it's also kind of fucked up that it's so celebrated when someone speaks. No, if a black guy speaks English, you're not like, whoa. You're just like,
That's radical,
So very interesting there. But who is Graham McIntosh?
He's just like a super old politician. He's been very involved in politics. He's a business owner, former member of parliament. Then he was part of the DA, and is now. He said he was on his way out.
Yeah, he looks like the guy. He looks like the guy from Succession.
He does.
He looks like Roy.
But who's lost a bit of weight. Yeah. See, he said he was on his way out anyway, but word on the street is that he's been ousted for what he's said. And I think that we can chat about this because people have said that what he was saying. What had happened was he didn't agree with Chris Pappas being open about his sexuality.
Chris Pappas is gay.
Yes, Chris Pappas is gay, and
he's open about it. That's not us coming out on behalf of Chris Pappas.
I mean, how would we know? We're not besties with him. So, it's a big part of his campaigning and whatnot. But McIntosh just felt like he shouldn't be spreading that in KZN, and he didn't agree with the way that he was campaigning, but how he said it, I think, came across.
So McIntosh said, I want to get rid of the ANC, but how will I go into deep rural areas and canvass for a premier candidate that is married to a man? What do I say to those people? Eish. So, but again, it's just volleyball. That's a bully's interpretation. But if you also, I think the Western world and South Africa, so in the West, where are we? Southern Hemisphere, But South Africa is deeply conservative. And if you look at traditional African communities, being homosexual is an area of contention. You see a lot of struggles in those sort of communities for people that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. And so if you just look at what he's saying outright, you go, well, not that it's factual, but it makes sense in terms, I don't think he's
trying to get votes.
Yes. But having said that, you do want everyone to be themselves and be happy with themselves. So if Chris Pappas has decided this is how he wants to present himself to the world as a candidate, I think it's very unfair to disqualify him based on his... It's not like he's like, oh, I've got a foot fetish. And now he's going around, how can I campaign for a guy with a foot fetish? No, he's a homosexual guy. He's married to a man. He shouldn't have to hide that because the contrary is Chris Pappas is closeted. And then he starts to get a bit of traction. People get attention. He's this fantastic mayoral candidate, mayor. And then it comes out that Chris Pappas is actually gay. And what's the reaction to that? Will people feel betrayed? So I think Chris Pappas living his truth and living who he is fantastic. It's how we should all, I think, aim to be, as open and transparent, especially if you are choosing to go into public office. You are choosing a public life. So there we go. What's this guy's name? Roy from fucking Succession. You need to shut the fuck up, oldie. But he's out. So
I agree. I think that you just have to he's just owning it, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think that this Graham guy, I feel like it's also a bit unfair saying, oh, we shouldn't talk about bedroom business. It's like, he's not actually talking about what he does in the bedroom. He's just being transparent about his sexuality.
Exactly. I love 69ing, and they're like, vote for me.
Like,
I'm on class 69.
So yeah, he also wrote like an open letter, and in it he says, this is Macintosh. He says, I'm not anti-gay. I really love Peter Dirk Ace and Nathaniel.
You are probably homophobic if the only two gay people you can cite are famous gay South African celebrities. I love black people. I was a big fan of, what's his name? Nelson Mandela. Great guy.
And then listen to this. He says, we both have Jack Russell terrier type drive and energy, but Chris Pappas never misses an opportunity to bring up his own sexuality. Come now.
Sounds like this guy's actually gay and just wants some of that Jack Russell dog in him. It's crazy, Tom. But
bring Drake out.
Yeah, South African politics. Rupert, what do you think?
Actually, I think Graham has got like a lot of sense to what he's saying. Not the I think the way he said it is wrong in the homophobic manner, but I think I do agree with what he's saying about him at every chance he gets to bring up his sexuality, when the votes he's trying to get of rural people, which make up a lot of South Africa, they do have a lot of traditional values, and that is something that'll steer them completely away from wanting to vote for him. I don't think it's he should hide his truth, anything like that. I think it's just from a strategic point of view to get votes. I don't think it's the most clever thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, then you've got to be a completely fake person. I think it does speak to the clash of cultures. So we have a lot of Western, left media which I personally agree with. I don't think being gay is a moral or a sin or whatever, in a negative. You're gay, enjoy it.
Yeah.
But you can also at the same time see, there's a massive cultural clash in terms of more sort of, like Rupert said, traditional communities where they go, that's not right. Yeah. So I still think it would be better to be open about it and try. I think that's what we need. It's refreshing, and he is a breath of fresh air. The only thing and it's not his problem. It's a more sort of just it makes me feel a bit weird is that we as a society celebrate when someone speaks another language to the point where it's a bit like we don't do the same when a first language Zulu speaker speaks English.
But I think that the reaction shows how rare it is, and that it should be something that's not as shocking. Really, I don't know if you saw I think a lot of KZN is really against him, and they've done rallies and stuff like that, and they've got posters that is arrest Chris Pappas and all that
arrest
stuff.
him for being gay.
I don't know if it's for being gay, but they've done where it says arrest him, he shouldn't be in office,
Well, there was a thing with his husband who worked at one of the NGOs.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and
okay.
that I saw that pop up. But that's politics in South Africa, baby.
Yeah.
Nepo babies.
But one of the signs was spelt wrong. So it said, arrest Chris Pappas. And he just reposted that
There's Chris Pappas going to jail. They got the wrong guy.
Yeah.
No, so it's too terrible what's going on. But Helen Ziller I think she's fluent in Xhosa. But you see, not a ton of people know that. Bad click, wrong click. Yeah. But we're trying.
It's better than saying Xhosa.
Xhosa with a K.
No. I think that I honestly think that Zulu should replace Afrikaans. I think it totally should. A majority of South Africa speaks Zulu. Not that people don't speak Afrikaans. A large majority of South Africa speak Afrikaans, but
this doesn't mean we hate Afrikaans. I did hate Mondelings though. That's for real. Yes. I can still recite a Mondeling I did when I was in grade 4 off by heart. Well, I won't do it now for you. But speaking of Helen Ziller, politicians and what, we've got someone else who is running for president. Mahweng. So nice. You had to say it twice. So the former retired Chief of Justice said he would become president of South Africa one day without even contesting for the position. What a beast. I'm not even going to run. So, according to various news outlets on Friday, he told a church audience in Bloem that God had spoken to him again, not the first time, and told him not once, but 3 times over that he will be president of South Africa.
Wow.
So?
I mean, what do you picture God's voice to be like? Do you think it's like, you will be president, you will be president. One more time, you will be president.
I've always pictured God as Neptune from The Little Mermaid, you know, with a big beard, but that's just me. I don't know. But yeah, that Bokweng says some crazy things.
Yeah. I don't know. It's also
quite literally impossible to run without
without backing.
Well, without applied and doing things. But
he says in order for him to run for president, he would have to give up his 2.8 million year pension. And
why would he have to give that up?
To run for president, he can't be a pensioner.
What?
Yeah, when you're running for president, you can't be a pensioner, so you'd have to.
But all these presidents are like 70 years plus. Or you just say you can't take money from the state.
You can't take money from the state and run to be a president.
You hear that, Cyril? Give back the money. Give back the money.
Well, because now you've got a job. You're not retired anymore. You're president of South Africa. You can't be, I'm retired, but I want to run the country.
I'm pretty sure you can still receive a pension and have another job.
I don't know.
And according to, what was it, that News 24 and EWN, they said you have to give it up. So
you got to give it up,
if you got issues, you got issues with News 24.
I don't think he would be a good president, to be honest. But who knows? In South Africa, literally anything can happen. And I've learned to sort of just, you can't really make any predictions. Something else that's crazy and just blows my mind is that Oscar Pistorius he's up for parole, which means that he could very seriously be released. So I don't know, I think we did a podcast a couple months ago where we talked about he was up for parole. And
a couple of years ago.
Maybe it was last year, but I thought it was in Feb we talked about it. Maybe it was last year.
Who knows?
He got denied parole in March, basically. And everyone was like, oh, thank goodness, shouldn't be out. And they've since had a look at his time served. So he was sentenced to 13 years, but they didn't take into account that year that he served before he went to trial. So now he has technically served part of that 13 years and whatever many months. And that was over in March.
So what does this mean?
Depending on his parole hearing, he could be granted parole and be left to live his life.
Okay. Oscar Pistorius.
What?
Jeez, he's been in jail for how long now? 10
personally,
years?
I think if I was Oscar, I'd say keep me in prison. Like, can you imagine him being on the streets?
I definitely would prefer to not be in prison.
He's been in jail since 2014.
Yeah, I would definitely rather stay in my house and not go out than
I guess. But like he literally wouldn't be able to go out.
Do you remember the story where he was being attacked and then someone ripped the condom dispenser off the wall to like help protect him?
No, I do remember that.
That's not going to happen in your house.
Not in your house, but like he literally can't leave his house. Like the whole of South Africa's against him.
Yeah, the problem is like you can wear sunglasses and a cap, but we're going to see those blades. You're going to see them. This is when last did you see just someone walking?
Pants and shoes. We'll be able to see through his pants.
You'll be running so fast.
He'll have a bit of a faster gait. No.
I would definitely not want to be in prison though. Fuck that.
I don't know. Either way, I think that his life is messed up, which fair enough.
Yeah, it tends to happen when you murder a person.
Yes. But now on to some international news.
Yes.
Still speaking about elections, JFK's maybe like grandson, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced that he's not going to be part of the Democratic Party anymore, and he is running for president independently.
I don't think independence has ever won.
No, not that I can think of. Has it ever?
I don't think independence has ever won. Maybe they have. Maybe they haven't.
They did in House of Cards. So, what was his name? Frank. Yeah.
Frank Underwood.
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey was cleared of everything. So
was he?
Yeah.
I don't think an independence ever won.
You have to be red or blue.
Yeah.
So, but. His voice, he talks like that. There's something wrong with his voice. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of this, though? He's described as a long-time environmental lawyer and anti-vaccine activist.
Sure. My guy. Yeah.
I mean, how do those two go together? I don't really know.
What a donkey.
But
I don't
anyways,
know.
it's just
But
crazy. And then during the elections, because obviously that's coming up next year, which will just be, I don't know, a shit show.
Trump.
That US lawmakers are really nervous about AI, which is what we were talking about last week, and deep fakes like Tom Hanks and that weird dentist ad. But now think of AI with like political adverts.
Yeah.
And it's being Joe Biden endorsing whatever policy, or he's saying this and saying that.
Yeah.
And
Well, if Joe Biden's awake and speaking coherently to a camera, you know it's AI. If you see any ads where Joe Biden's making sense, the worst is Tucker Carlson. You know, he was formerly with Fox News.
Oh yeah.
Does crazy
Does
ratings.
he have the white hair?
No. He's brown haired, but you know the world is in trouble when he starts making sense, and this kind of ties into like red media being Republican media, blue media being for Democrats, and the sort of echo chambers and filter bubbles we live in. And he was just talking about Israel-Palestine, and I think, you know, we're not going to chat about it because I don't think we offer fantastic or differing or clued up intellectual opinions about it, but I also didn't want it to be like, oh, we had purposely left that out the show. But Tucker Carlson was making some interesting points around it, which is very bizarre because he's usually far right and leaning towards extreme, and maybe that's him coming into his own as a media personality, away from Fox News, where you probably do have to be a lot more red media,
Maybe
that
you
sort of
should join
stuff.
Robert.
But yeah, it's I think a lot of the stuff going around Israel Palestine, it's quite hard to speak about, because if you anti-Israel or if you bring up something against Israel, you're anti-Semitic. If you support Israel and against Palestine, then you're framed as a apartheid lover. So it's I think pretty impossible to talk about, and people have to live in binaries of right, wrong, good, bad. So
I think you have
just
to
terrible
have
what's
like
happening
like a nuanced and like dualistic approach. So you have to be able to let's say you support Palestine, but you can recognize that their actions are harmful and deadly.
It's
and extreme.
Well, it's like, even if it's you're Palestinian, doesn't mean you're part of Hamas. So it's so complicated. It's, you know, it's not going to be solved on Instagram or on KETS, that's for sure. But again, like, two things can be true at the same time. You can abhor and feel very bad about the loss of life, Israeli loss of life, and you can also feel terrible about the Palestinian sort of, you know, situation that they find themselves in, what a lot of people termed apartheid, that sort of stuff. So just messy stuff, and you just feel very lucky not to be in that region and a part of it, because it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, it's very heartbreaking. But moving on to something a bit more light, we are going to do overrated, underrated to end off the show.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Pick it up, because
Okay.
that stuff is too heavy. Oosh.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Okay.
Rupert could probably deadlift it, though. He's so strong.
Okay. Is Suits overrated or underrated?
Suits is overrated. It's honestly a shit show. It's background noise. I feel like every single episode is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it is pre-Netflix and chill fodder. You might not like it, but it's the goddamn truth.
A little bit of foreplay. Overrated or underrated, Pete Davidson?
Pete Davidson, underrated. Best to ever do it.
How does he do it?
Can't keep getting away with this.
Overrated or underrated, Drake's new album?
I haven't listened to the whole thing, which probably means it's overrated, because I haven't felt the need. Listen to a few songs. There's some like sort of similar Drake flow, bars, but a lot of the ones I have listened to, the feature artist verses are better than his.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's overrated.
People were saying that he just needs to stop being like a whiny little bitch.
No, I love Drake. He'll probably go down as one of the most successful recording artists of all time. But I haven't fallen in love with this album.
Would you say that Drake is like the male version of Taylor Swift, but just doesn't get the same shtick for it? You know what I mean?
I've never heard that before, but that's quite funny. Drake is the male version of Taylor Swift. Yeah, that's fair enough. Literally, he is.
Like, he just sings about all of his exes and how they've wronged him and it hasn't worked out.
Yeah,
And
Taylor Swift doesn't have ops, she has exes. Yeah, no.
what if they dated one day? That would just
that would release
blow
two
my
of the
mind.
best albums
Two of the
that
best
come out of that
albums.
Heartbreak albums.
Damn.
But even him and SZA was enough to release some bangers on Travis
Rihanna?
Scott's album. Did they used to date?
Drake and Rihanna.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Now he's still singing about her, but come on, she's got 2 children. Okay, last one. I want to get your opinion on this. Overrated or underrated, Josie Shaw?
Josie she sells she-shores. Josie Shaw, the South African Jersey Shore, is one of the funniest things I've ever watched.
Goodness gracious.
It's we used to literally play it before we went out in sort of like grade 10 and 11 just to hype us up. But it's very funny. If you haven't
have to
watched,
bring
it's
it
dated.
back.
It's dated. It's quite dated, but it's also funny.
I feel in a way it's dated, but it also is completely reflective of exactly how 20-year-olds are now. Like, I watched that and I was like, this looks...
Accusations towards Rupert.
Come
you think
on.
that's what Rupert's like?
No, obviously, but it's like the stereotypical, like, you're like a lift and like chicks and I don't respect women, kind of, and like fucking creatine and like, let's get it, boys. It's like...
I don't think that's 20-year-olds. I just think that's a butt.
Yeah, well,
Like-
whatever, but like, it's like a young, like,
Jaden Smith
letter
is like,
age.
he's concerned about the socio-economic state of the world. So I think it's just fucking butts. But
Yeah.
that takes us to the end of the show.
To the
Thank you
end.
for joining, for listening, for being part of the debauchery. We God damn it, we covered a lot of topics today.
We say it's chaos, but it's KETS. And please, like we said, go leave us a 5-star review and we'll pick the best one, send you some merch. Please like and
We say one article of merch.
What are we, made of money? No.
This is Rupert. Anything you want to say before signing off? Should we get you back on camera?
Let
Justice
the
for
people
Rupert.
decide. If you've watched this far, if you've made it this far,
Comment justice for Rupert.
justice for
Justice for Rupert. So,
If honestly, if 3 people comment justice for Rupert, I will honestly, he can sit here and I'll go and do the behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
remember he said that.
Or we'll definitely have him on camera next time.
the comment section is going to be filled with Justice for Rupert. That's so funny.
I don't know. People on big comments on
Do you remember
YouTube.
your
Lots of chat on TikTok. though.
Signature sign-off.
Signature
I really
sign-off.
enjoyed that. But yeah, please like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. You can find also the Left Back podcast on Apple and Spotify. We'll have that link down below. Thank you very much for tuning in today. It was a bit of a longer episode, which we didn't think we were going to do because Sammy is sick. But
Bye.
okay.
Bye.
Bye.